Chosen one, listen carefully, this message you about to hear. They caught a glimpse of your spiritual strength, and it shook them to their core. Not because you attacked them, not because you tried to prove anything, but because your presence alone exposed what they were not ready to face. There is something about you that disrupts the atmosphere when you walk into a room. It is not arrogance, it is not ego, it is depth, it is conviction. It is a quiet power that does not beg for validation, and when they saw it, even for a second, it almost broke them. The first glimpse. They saw it in your eyes. That calm intensity, that awareness, that unspoken understanding of life. You were not reacting like everyone else. You were observing, processing, seeing beyond the surface. And in that moment, they realized you were operating on a different frequency. Most people live distracted. They survive on noise and validation. But you carry stillness, and stillness terrifies those who are running from themselves. Why your presence feels threatening. You do not compete. You do not chase. You do not need applause to know your worth. And that kind of self-contained strength exposes insecurity in others without you saying a word. When they caught a glimpse of your spiritual depth, it forced them to confront their own emptiness. That confrontation feels like danger to the unawakened mind. The awakening within you. Being chosen does not mean life is easy. It means you are aware. It means you feel deeply. You question everything. You refuse to accept lies just because they are popular. Your awakening began the moment you realized you could not fit into spaces that required you to shrink. You started noticing patterns, manipulation, energy shifts, hidden motives, and once you see clearly, you can never go back to sleep. The isolation phase. There was a season where you felt alone, misunderstood, even attacked for simply being yourself. That was not punishment, that was preparation. When people sense spiritual growth in someone, they often try to minimize it, not out of pure evil, but out of fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of exposure, fear of losing control. The silent strength you carry. You learn to fight battles without noise. You learn to detach without hatred. You learn to walk away without explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. That is power. Not loud power, not reckless power, but disciplined spiritual power. The moment they realized, they tried to test you. They tried to provoke you. They expected you to break. But instead, you remained composed. You responded with clarity. You saw through the manipulation. And that was the moment it almost crushed them, because they realized they could not control you anymore. Why society resists the chosen. Society rewards conformity. It rewards silence. It rewards people who never question the system. But chosen ones are disruptors by nature, not through chaos, but through consciousness. You see beyond illusions. You sense when something is misaligned, and your refusal to play along exposes the fragile foundations many people stand on. The weight of awareness. Awareness is heavy. It means you notice when energy shifts in a room. It means you feel when someone's words do not match their intentions. It means you carry discernment. And discernment creates distance, not because you think you are better, but because you protect your peace. The spiritual warfare within. Sometimes the greatest battle was internal. Doubting yourself. Questioning your path. Wondering if you were too sensitive, too different, too intense. But every time you tried to dim your light, something inside you refused. That inner refusal is your spirit reminding you who you are. The transformation they could not handle. Growth changes your aura, your posture, your voice. Even your silence becomes louder. When they caught that shift in you, they felt it immediately. They sensed that you were no longer accessible to manipulation, and that loss of access felt like a threat. The misunderstood path. You were labeled dramatic, too deep, too serious. But what they called too much was actually spiritual maturity. You stopped entertaining chaos. You stopped feeding drama. You started choosing purpose over popularity, and that shift separated you from environments that thrived on distraction. The power of restraint. True strength is not reacting to every insult. It is not proving your intelligence in every argument. It is not defending yourself against every rumor. True strength is restraint. When they saw you remain calm under pressure, they realized your foundation was solid, and that realization shook them. The chosen one's responsibility. Being chosen is not about superiority. It is about responsibility. You are called to integrity, to discipline, to awareness. You are called to lead by example, even when no one applauds you. And leadership without ego is rare. That rarity makes you unforgettable. The mirror effect. Your presence acts like a mirror. People see their insecurities reflected back. They see their potential. They see the version of themselves they have been avoiding. And not everyone is ready for that reflection. Some will admire you. Some will distance themselves. Some will try to compete. But none of them can ignore the impact. The fire that cannot be hidden. You tried to downplay your depth. You tried to blend in. But your energy always stood out. Because spiritual strength is not loud, it is consistent. It is the way you remain grounded in chaos. It is the way you choose growth over revenge. It is the way you refuse to let bitterness define you. The turning point. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "Why me?" And you start asking, "What am I being prepared for?" That shift changes everything. You stop viewing isolation as rejection. You start seeing it as refinement. And refinement produces resilience. The courage to embrace it. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be aligned with truth. Not forced truth, not exaggerated claims, but grounded awareness and responsibility. Your strength is not about domination. It is about self-mastery. It is about controlling your reactions, guarding your character, and walking with integrity even when tested. The final revelation. They caught a glimpse of your spiritual strength, and it almost broke them because it revealed that you are not easily shaken. You are not easily manipulated. You are not easily defined by other people's limitations. And that realization changes how they move around you. So, chosen one, do not shrink. Do not apologize for your growth. Do not dim your awareness to comfort those who are committed to staying asleep. Embrace your awakening with humility and discipline. Continue refining your character. Continue seeking truth. Continue strengthening your spirit. If this message resonated with you, let it be known. Like this video so others who feel different can find it. Comment below and declare, "I will not shrink." Subscribe to return to awakening and stand firm in who you are becoming. Your journey is not about proving anything to the world. It is about becoming aligned with the strength that was placed inside you, the energy shift they felt. After that moment, something changed. You noticed it. Conversations became shorter, smiles became forced, invitations became rare. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they felt the shift in power. When someone realizes they cannot intimidate you, manipulate you, or emotionally control you, their behavior adjusts. Your calm became their discomfort. Your clarity became their pressure. The discipline behind your strength. They thought it was natural talent. They thought it was luck. They never saw the nights you sat alone, rebuilding your mind. They never saw the prayers, the self-reflection, the tears you refused to show. Spiritual strength is not accidental, it is forged through patience, through restraint, through choosing growth when revenge would have been easier. The attack that revealed everything. When they felt exposed, some chose to attack. Not physically, but subtly. Through gossip, through exclusion, through passive resistance. That is how insecurity fights back. But every attack revealed more about them than about you. Because when you remained composed, it became obvious who was operating from fear and who was operating from alignment. The calm they could not break. They expected emotion. They expected you to react. They expected you to lose control so they could say, "See, they are not who they claim to be." But you did not give them that satisfaction. You responded with measured words, or sometimes with silence. And silence, when used wisely, is a weapon of discipline. The loneliness of awareness. There are days you feel ahead of your environment. Not superior, just aware. You see cycles repeating before others notice. You sense outcomes before they unfold. That awareness can feel isolating. But isolation is often the training ground for clarity. It removes distractions. It sharpens discernment. It teaches you to trust your intuition without external validation. The test of character. Strength is tested when you are misunderstood. When people project their insecurities onto you. When your growth triggers their resistance. In those moments, you had two choices. Shrink to fit their comfort, or stand firm in quiet confidence. Every time you chose not to shrink, your foundation grew stronger. The responsibility of influence. Whether you admit it or not, people observe you. They watch how you handle pressure. They study how you respond to conflict. They notice that you do not chase attention. That kind of consistency builds silent influence. And influence without effort unsettles those who depend on force. The power of emotional control. Many people confuse intensity with instability. But your intensity is focused. It is directed. It is disciplined. You feel deeply, but you do not allow feelings to control your decisions. That balance is rare, and when they glimpsed that balance, they understood that you are not easily moved by chaos. The breaking point they faced. For some, seeing your growth forced a painful realization. They could no longer dominate the narrative. They could no longer define you through their limited perception. They could no longer predict your reactions. And unpredictability, when rooted in strength, feels dangerous to those who rely on control. The inner alignment. Your greatest power is alignment. Your words match your actions. Your intentions match your behavior. Your private discipline supports your public composure. There is no performance. And when people sense authenticity, it either inspires them or exposes them. The choice before you. This path is not about becoming hardened. It is not about isolating yourself from everyone. It is about refining your circle, protecting your energy, choosing environments that respect your growth instead of resisting it. You are not called to dim your spirit. You are called to steward it responsibly. The expansion of your vision. Your goals are evolving. Your conversations are changing. What once entertained you now feels shallow. That is growth. Growth requires shedding old versions of yourself. And sometimes, shedding old versions of yourself means shedding people who only knew the previous you. The strength in silence. Not every battle requires your voice. Not every accusation deserves your defense. Silence, when chosen wisely, preserves energy. It protects dignity. It allows truth to reveal itself over time. And those who tried to provoke you eventually realized that your restraint was not weakness. It was control. The awakening continues. This is not a single moment. It is a process. Layer by layer, you are becoming more aware, more disciplined, more grounded. They only saw a glimpse, but you know the journey is deeper than what they witnessed, the separation season. There comes a season where distance becomes necessary, not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of clarity. You begin to recognize that not everyone is assigned to walk with you forever. Some were only meant to meet the earlier version of you. When you evolve, access changes, and that shift confuses those who were comfortable with your old boundaries. The misjudgment you endured. They said you changed. They said you became cold. They said you think you are better. But what truly changed was your tolerance. You stopped tolerating disrespect disguised as jokes. You stopped tolerating manipulation disguised as concern. You stopped tolerating chaos disguised as passion. And when tolerance decreases, standards increase. The cost of growth. Growth costs comfort. It costs familiarity. It costs approval from people who preferred the smaller version of you. But it rewards you with peace. It rewards you with self-respect. And peace is more valuable than popularity. The internal upgrade. You started thinking long-term. You started choosing discipline over impulse. You started responding instead of reacting. That internal upgrade changed your entire presence. You walk slower now, speak with intention, listen more than you talk. That shift alone makes people realize you are not the same. The energy you no longer entertain. Drama no longer excites you. Arguments no longer stimulate you. Proving yourself no longer motivates you. You conserve your energy. And conserved energy becomes focused power. When they noticed you were no longer feeding the old dynamics, they felt the imbalance, because the game only works when you participate. The authority in your voice. There is a steadiness when you speak now. Not loud, not aggressive, but certain. Certainty without arrogance carries weight. And when you speak from lived experience instead of borrowed opinions, people feel it, even if they do not admit it. The discernment you developed. You read between the lines. You observe patterns. You trust actions over words. Discernment protects you from repeating old cycles. It allows you to engage without becoming entangled. And when someone realizes they cannot deceive you easily, it unsettles them. The strength of self-control. You could expose people. You could respond with sharp words. You could defend yourself publicly. But you choose control. Self-control is mastery. It is the ability to act without being ruled by emotion, and mastery makes you unpredictable in the best way. The evolution they did not expect. They expected you to stay hurt. They expected you to stay confused. They expected you to stay dependent. But you healed. You studied yourself. You corrected your patterns. And healing removes the hooks people once used to control you. The spiritual maturity. You no longer seek revenge. You seek refinement. You no longer chase validation. You chase alignment. Spiritual maturity is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It is visible through consistency, humility, and steady growth. The boundaries that shocked them. You started saying no. Without guilt. Without long explanations. Without emotional overcompensation. Healthy boundaries feel offensive to those who benefited from your lack of them. And when they saw you enforce those boundaries calmly, they understood that access to you is now earned, not assumed. The awareness of timing. You are learning patience. Not forced patience, intentional patience. You understand that not every opportunity is aligned. Not every connection is meant to be permanent. Timing matters, and restraint in timing prevents unnecessary chaos. The confidence without noise. You do not need to announce your growth. You do not need to display your strength. You do not need to compete for attention. Your consistency speaks, and silent consistency builds an unshakable foundation. The depth they could not reach. Some people operate on surface conversations, small talk, trends, distractions, but your mind searches for meaning. Your heart searches for purpose. And when depth meets surface, friction happens. The calm after the storm. You remember when you were reactive, when you were unsure, when you second-guessed your instincts. Now there is calm, not because life is perfect, but because you trust your discernment. That trust creates stability, and stability is intimidating to unstable systems. The quiet leadership. You do not force influence. You demonstrate it. Through discipline, through character, through integrity. People may not say it out loud, but they recognize that you move differently, and difference challenges comfort. The refinement process. You are still evolving, still learning, still refining. Being chosen does not mean finished. It means committed to growth. And that commitment sets you apart from those who settle for stagnation. The unseen preparation. There are doors you are not ready to walk through yet. There are responsibilities that require more refinement. Preparation happens in private. Development happens in silence. And when the time comes, your readiness will not be accidental. It will be earned, the weight of expectation. As you grow, expectations increase. Not just from others, but from yourself. You hold yourself accountable now. You correct your own mistakes before anyone else has to. That level of self-awareness creates pressure, but it also creates excellence. And excellence naturally separates you from environments that normalize mediocrity. The shift in conversations. You notice it clearly. Some conversations no longer resonate. Complaints without solutions exhaust you. Negativity without responsibility drains you. You crave growth-focused dialogue, strategy, reflection, purpose. And when your interests evolve, your circle must evolve too. The internal standard. You develop standards that are invisible to most people. Standards for how you speak. Standards for how you respond when disrespected. Standards for what you allow near your spirit. These standards are not about control, they are about protection. Because once you realize your energy is valuable, you stop handing it out freely. The power of detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It is emotional discipline. It is the ability to care without losing yourself. It is the ability to walk away without bitterness. When they saw you detach calmly, they felt the shift immediately, because detachment removes leverage. The integrity test. Opportunities came that challenged your values. Shortcuts that promised quick results. Alliances that required compromise. You chose integrity. And integrity sometimes looks slow, but it builds foundations that cannot be shaken by exposure. The silence before elevation. There is a quiet season before every elevation. A season where it feels like nothing is moving. But internally, everything is aligning. Skills sharpening. Character strengthening. Vision clarifying. People misinterpret this silence as stagnation, but you know it is construction. The emotional maturity. You no longer chase closure from people who lack self-awareness. You no longer argue with those committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer need everyone to agree with your path. That emotional maturity creates stability. And stability in a chaotic environment stands out immediately. The courage to be misunderstood. Being chosen means sometimes being alone in your thinking. Alone in your discipline. Alone in your restraint. You are willing to be misunderstood temporarily rather than betray your long-term vision. That courage is rare. Most people choose approval over authenticity. You chose authenticity. The strength in consistency. You show up daily, even when no one claps, even when progress feels slow, even when doubt whispers quietly. Consistency builds quiet confidence, and quiet confidence is unshakable because it is earned through repetition. The unapologetic growth. You stopped over-explaining your boundaries. You stopped shrinking your ambitions to make others comfortable. You stopped apologizing for evolving. Growth is not betrayal. It is obedience to your potential. And those who benefited from your smaller version may struggle with your expansion. The awareness of influence. You understand now that your choices ripple outward. Your discipline inspires. Your restraint teaches. Your composure challenges others to elevate. Whether they admit it or not, your evolution forces reflection in those around you. The emotional detachment from validation. Validation once mattered deeply. Approval once felt necessary. Now alignment matters more than applause. You would rather be respected quietly than celebrated loudly, without substance. That shift in priority makes you stable. And stability cannot be manipulated easily. The internal peace. There's a calm you carry now. Not because life is easy, but because your foundation is stronger. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. And when identity becomes clear, confusion loses power. The resistance you overcame. There were moments you wanted to give up. Moments you considered shrinking back. Moments you questioned your path. But something inside you refused to surrender. That refusal is resilience. Resilience built through experience, reflection, and growth. The refined identity. You are no longer searching for who you are. You are refining who you are becoming. Less reactive. More intentional. Less impulsive. More strategic. Identity clarity radiates strength, and strength reshapes every environment you enter. The expansion of responsibility. As you grow, so does your responsibility. You cannot entertain the same distractions. You cannot respond the same way to disrespect. You cannot afford emotional recklessness. Growth demands discipline, and discipline separates those who are serious from those who are temporary. The preparation for greater weight. There are heavier responsibilities ahead. Greater influence, greater impact, and greater tests. Your current challenges are training. Training your patience, training your focus, training your character. Because without character, power becomes dangerous. The elevated perspective. You see situations differently now. You look at conflict with analysis instead of emotion. You look at setbacks with strategy instead of panic. You look at opposition with awareness instead of fear. Perspective determines power. And your perspective has matured, the discipline of observation. You speak less now. You observe more. You analyze patterns before responding. Silence has become your classroom. In observation, you see intentions unfold without interference. You recognize who is consistent and who performs. That awareness protects you from unnecessary entanglements. The shift from reaction to strategy. There was a time when emotion guided your decisions. Now strategy leads. You pause before responding. You calculate long-term impact before making short-term moves. That shift alone separates you from impulsive environments. Strategy transforms potential into controlled power. The freedom from comparison. You stopped measuring your journey against others. You stopped racing timelines that were never assigned to you. You stopped envying paths that do not align with your purpose. Comparison weakens focus. Focus strengthens identity, and identity builds unshakable confidence. The emotional intelligence. You read tone. You sense tension. You understand what is said and what is avoided. Emotional intelligence gives you leverage without confrontation. You no longer need loud dominance to maintain control of your space. Calm awareness is enough. The courage to walk alone. There are rooms you outgrew, tables you no longer fit at, conversations that feel repetitive. Walking away was not easy, but staying would have required shrinking, and shrinking would have betrayed your growth. The inner authority. You trust your instincts now, not blindly, but confidently. You have tested your discernment enough times to know it is reliable. Inner authority removes the need for constant external confirmation, and when you move with inner authority, hesitation fades. The protection of your energy. You guard your mornings. You guard your focus. You guard your emotional space. Not everyone deserves access to your mind. Energy mismanaged leads to distraction. Energy protected leads to elevation. The maturity of forgiveness. You forgave some people silently, not because they apologized, but because you refused to carry unnecessary weight. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is emotional freedom, and freedom allows you to move forward without hidden chains. The expansion of vision. Your goals are no longer short-term. You think in years, not days. You plan in seasons, not moments. Vision expanded changes behavior automatically. When the destination is clear, distractions lose their appeal. The refusal to settle. You no longer accept half-effort relationships. You no longer entertain half-truth conversations. You no longer tolerate half-committed environments. Clarity removes compromise, and standards protect destiny. The depth of self-reflection. You analyze your own behavior honestly. You admit your flaws privately. You correct your patterns intentionally. Self-reflection builds strength that no one can take from you. Because growth that starts within cannot be destroyed from outside. The patience you developed. You understand timing now. You do not rush outcomes. You do not force connections. You allow alignment to reveal itself naturally. Patience prevents regret, and controlled timing preserves peace. The power of presence. When you enter a room, you are fully present. Not distracted. Not scattered. Focused. Presence commands respect without demanding it. People feel when someone is grounded in themselves. The mastery over impulse. Impulses still exist, but they no longer control you. You feel them. You analyze them. Then you choose discipline. Mastery over impulse builds credibility within yourself, and self-trust strengthens every decision you make. The separation from chaos. Chaos once surrounded you. Now you move differently. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You disengage from pointless debates. Peace has become your priority, and peace requires intentional boundaries. The development of resilience. You endured criticism. You endured doubt. You endured isolation. Yet you are still standing. Resilience is built quietly, through repetition, through endurance, through refusing to quit when quitting feels convenient. The elevated emotional control. You do not explode under pressure. You do not crumble under opposition. You regulate. You respond. Emotional regulation is advanced strength, and advanced strength cannot be easily shaken. The long-term focus. Short-term pleasure no longer tempts you. Short-term validation no longer distracts you. You are building something sustainable, something structured. Long-term focus transforms small daily discipline into massive future impact. The internal stability. External chaos does not move you like it once did. You have built routines. You have built principles. You have built inner structure. Structure creates stability, and stability amplifies strength. The ongoing refinement. You are not finished. You are refining daily, sharpening your mindset, strengthening your discipline, expanding your awareness. Growth is continuous, and your commitment to continuous growth is what truly sets you apart. Now listen carefully. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to doubt your growth. This is the time to stand firm in who you are becoming. You did not endure isolation, misunderstanding, and pressure just to return to comfort. You did not build discipline just to fall back into distraction. You did not develop discernment just to ignore it now. Step fully into your strength. Guard your peace. Refine your character. Move with intention. If this message spoke to your spirit, do not stay silent. Like this video so others who feel different can find confirmation in their journey. Comment below and declare boldly, "I will not shrink." Subscribe to return to awakening and commit to becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined every single day. This is your season of elevation through responsibility. Walk in it with courage,